Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Sia, a student rep from Mind Out Loud. Mind Out Loud is a student-led program, and many of the materials during the workshop are student-generated. The information provided on this platform is for general informational purposes only. It's not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified mental health provider in any questions you may have regarding medical or mental health condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you may have heard or read on this platform. If you think you may have a medical or mental health emergency, please call your doctor or 911 immediately. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Shruti now.
Hi guys, I'm Shruti, a Mind Out Loud student rep, part of the Outreach Committee. Joining us for our November workshop today is Experience Camps. Experience Camps is a national nonprofit that transforms the lives of grieving children through summer camp programs and innovative year-round initiatives. Through compassion, connection, and play, we allow grieving children to embody life full of hope and possibility. By amplifying their voices, we are creating a more grief-sensitive culture. If any questions come up during the presentation, feel free to submit them to the Q&A form that we hope to get to by the end of the hour. We will go ahead and turn it over to Samira and the members of the Youth Advisory Board at Experience Camps who will be leading the workshop on Grief Sucks, How to Support Ourselves and Our Friends who are grieving.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much for having us, y'all. Hello, wherever you're tuning in from. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Samira Musavi, and I am a clinical manager at Experience Camps. Jamil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Jamil. I was a camper, and I hope to return as a counselor at Experience Camps as well.
Thank you, Jamil. All right, y'all, before we get into our topic tonight, we do have a little question for you. And so we are wondering if in the poll, Zoe, do we have that question pulled up? It sounds like. We're just wondering, y'all, if you could name an album based off of your personality, what would it be called?
Yeah.
What would it be? All you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
E-M-P-A-T-H-Y.
Yeah, that is how you spell empathy. I think about how others feel. That is the meaning of empathy. E-M-P-A-T-H-Y. Yeah, that is how you spell empathy. I think about how others feel. That is the meaning of empathy. Empathy. Anyone can be a friend to me. Empathy is when you think about what somebody else might be feeling. Sometimes I have lots of feelings. Other people have feelings too. If I think about how someone else feels, then I will know what to do. If my friend is feeling real sad, I will go ask them what's wrong. I will go give them a hug because I remember this song.
I think that if I had an album named after me, I'd call it, like, hopefully Amazing, Genius, something like that, hopefully.
So it would be called Amazing or Genius.
Yeah.
One of the two.
One of the two.
Would there be like multiple iterations, like 2.0?
Yeah, there'd be first I'd release a single and then you get the full album, and then there'd also be like extra songs.
Yeah, amazing. We love that. Okay, great. We've got another one in the chat. Don't Take It Too Seriously would be my album. All right. Sounds like perhaps some lessons learned. Don't take it too seriously. All right, y'all, by all means, please drop in your album names into the chat during our time together. There's no rush, but we would love to hear from you. What would it be called? All right, so like I said, my name is Samira, and I am a clinical manager at Experience Camps, and I'm joined by Jamul, who is one of our wonderful Youth Advisory Board members, and we're going to talk about grief tonight. So our workshop is called Grief Sucks, How to Support Ourselves and Our Friends Who Are Grieving. So we are going to be focusing on supporting grief when it comes to the death of someone who has died, but we're also going to talk about grief in all different kinds of ways. I will let y'all know that we have a couple questions prepared for you. So our intention is that we can make this time together as interactive as possible. so that we can engage you and hear from you just as much as you are hopefully hearing from us. I also want to make sure, friends, that while we are exploring this topic, that you are taking care of yourself. So please make sure that you are hydrating, grabbing a snack, taking some bio breaks. This topic may be hard to hear. It may be activating in some ways. And so please make sure that you're taking some deep breaths, again, attending to what you need. We are here to support you, not to dysregulate you in any way. So as we get started today, friends, we're going to talk a little bit about experience camps. So as was so generously introduced, Experience Camps is a national nonprofit where we provide grief support programming primarily for kids and teens who have experienced the death of a parent, primary caregiver, or sibling. We have week-long summer camps all over the country that are at no cost to our campers to attend, where they can talk about their person who died and honor their grief experience and hear and learn from others in a peer support model. We also have programs that we do in the community that are kind of like half day or all day. We've got a weekend family camp that we run. And we have lots of other opportunities, including an amazing website that I'll show you all a little bit later called griefsucks.com. And our Instagram and our TikTok, where we have platforms where our youth share about their grief stories and what grief actually looks like, feels like, all of that. Those platforms are very honest and very raw and vulnerable. So if you know someone who's grieving or you're grieving yourself, definitely would recommend taking a look. All right, so what are we going to talk about tonight, y'all? I mean, we're on Pacific time. It's 5 o'clock. It already looks like 8 o'clock outside. Feels very late. What a time. But we, of course, have done some welcomes and intros. We're going to talk about what this grief thing even means tonight. So how do we define it? What does it mean? Who does it include? We're also going to talk about different ways to support our friends or our peers who are grieving. And then if we're the ones grieving, we're going to talk about a couple of ways that we can honor ourselves and our own grief, and then discuss some places that you can find some more support, whether it be for yourself or someone in your life that you want to share some resources with. All right. So we're going to get started here with like, what is this grief thing? J-Mul, before I go into the definition, what do you think this grief thing is? How would you define grief?
I think grief doesn't really have a definition. A definition excludes the possibility of change, and grief is always changing. It's like an ocean where it just ripples, and there's constant waves, and it can stop, it can be smooth, but then there can also be hurricanes that come over. And I don't think grief really has a definition. It's an emotion that can be felt throughout time, and it's never really ending.
Thank you, Jamal. That was so profound, y'all. There are so many nuggets in what you just shared that I hope everyone heard. Mainly that it's ever changing, that you can't really limit it to a definition, but we're going to try just a little bit so that we have a little bit of a framework and understanding for our time together tonight. But grief is so dynamic and so layered. So Jamal, I appreciate you bringing that up. And friends, I apologize if I didn't introduce Jamal enough, but we have an amazing youth advisory board where we have a group of teens that have been to our programs before that advise us on everything that we do so that we can make sure that the things that we're doing are actually supporting our youth that come to our programs and that learn about our programs and want to talk about grief. So what is grief? Grief is, y'all, the natural, normal reaction to a loss. So it is emotional. It affects us socially. It affects our bodies. So physically, it affects our behaviors, our thoughts. It even affects us spiritually. So it affects us on every layer that we as humans exist. But grief is our reactions. It's our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, our reactions to some sort of loss. Now, again, tonight we're going to focus on the death of a person and the loss that comes with that. But grief is also so many different things. And so as Jamie will kind of describe for us, it's so hard to give it a definition because it's so individualized. It's so specific. It's so dynamic and has so many different layers to it. But we also want to talk about like who in this space is grieving and who is a part of the grief community, if you will. So while we try to define grief, we would love to ask y'all, there is a poll question that will be popping up right now for all of you to take a moment and share whatever you feel comfortable with. But in the poll, being able to respond to who in our space tonight has experienced grief. So you can go ahead and identify if you are someone who has had someone in your life die, if you are someone who knows someone who has experienced the death of someone, or if you've experienced a different type of loss. So maybe you've experienced a breakup, maybe you've changed schools, maybe you've had a friendship end, whatever type of loss that you have experienced, also we want to bring into the space. So everyone take just a quick minute to respond to that question. And if multiple apply to you, you are welcome to share about or click on whichever one you feel like resonates with you the most tonight. So who has experienced grief? Who in this room? All right, here are the responses. We've got 3 friends who identified that someone in their life has died. And then we have 3 friends that have identified that they know someone who has experienced the death of a person. Thank you, everybody, for voting. So what we know, again, about grief is that it is any type of loss. So it doesn't have to be the death of a person, but we wanted to bring that into the space because that is how our programs are centered here at Experience Camps. However, what we're going to talk about and how to support grief also is welcome to any other kinds of changes, transitions, losses that any of you or anyone that you care about may experience as well. So what we want to do next is we want to talk about it. This image here is an image from a greeting card from Emily McDowell. Jamal, would you want to read it out? Sorry to popcorn you, or I can.
I got it.
All right.
Let's talk about it. Well, this just sucks. I wish I had a better way to say it, but my brain feels totally stuck right now. But I just want you to know that even though I might not always have exactly the right words, you will always have me. I'm not going anywhere, so I hope you're cool with that, because I love you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamal. The reason why I put this up, y'all, is because we're going to talk about how to support our friends or our peers who are grieving. And it can be really hard to open up the conversation. It can be really hard to know what to say, what language to use, what not to say. And this gives a really good explanation, or like a really good example of what we're really trying to communicate is I'm here for you. And this sucks and I can't change it. I wish I had better things to say, but I just want you to remember that I'm here for you. So Jamal and I were chatting about if we had somebody in our life who had experienced the death of somebody, how would we want to support them? What we know about grief, y'all, is that 1 in 11 children in California will experience the death of a parent or sibling before the age of 18. And there are over 6.4 million youth in our country that will also experience a death before the age of 18. So if you haven't experienced this, there are a lot of statistical chances that someone in your school, someone in some of your peer environments, your after-school curricular activities has experienced the death of someone that they love. And so we're hoping that these things that we're going to share with you will be helpful in your efforts to support them throughout their grief experience as well. And before we get into that, Jamal, would you want to share with the crew? Actually, you know what? We'll have you share in just a moment. So let's talk about it. Ways to support others. Jamal, are there any of these that you want to highlight? And then I can share the rest.
Me personally, I'd like to highlight the remembering special days, because that's something that I've done a lot in my experience, where my father passed away. And even though he's gone, my family still celebrates his Father's Day. We still celebrate his birthdays. We just try to remember him through this lens. And it's just some way that you can support others, where I try and help my younger brothers or my mother through this process, just through their experience of grief during these like harder times, as well as sharing stories. It's just a really, really easy way to remember them. Not that any way is easy, but it's just a really straightforward way to try and honor and remember the person and support people.
Thank you, Jamal. I appreciate you. To follow up with what you so generously shared with us, Jamal, of remembering special days, for somebody who is trying to, let's say one of your friends is trying to support you on one of those days, what can they do to be supportive? What can they say, or what are some actions that they can do? How can they show up for you on those days?
For me personally, some of my friends know about or a lot of my friends know about it, but some of the people that know when these days occur, they don't try to be too intrusive. They don't try to take over and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do something, right? They just try to be there. Silent support sometimes is really important to me, where their presence is alone enough to help me with my process. But sometimes people are like, oh, let's go to my dad's favorite restaurant was Taco Bell. So let's go to Taco Bell and then let's get something. And then it's just, it's just really important to me that people do this, and it means a lot to me when people do that.
Thanks, Jamal. Yeah, it sounds like important to you is for friends to remember your dad's favorite restaurant or some of his favorite food, Taco Bell, to remember that those days, and to remember that like birthdays and holidays that we all have might affect you differently because you're missing someone. And so if you have somebody, again, that you know that's grieving, just noticing that. We've got Thanksgiving coming up. We got winter holidays coming up. If you're grieving somebody or you know somebody is grieving, they might be feeling a lot different on those days and missing their person who died. A couple of other things to highlight of how to support others is ask about their person. Ask if they feel comfortable sharing any memories with you, like Jamal said, but also simple things like their name. What's their name? And what is something that makes you remember them? Or what is something that you wish you could share with them right now? To invite other people to share their story, but also share your story of grief too. To remind people that you care about that you're here for them. So like Jamal said, sometimes it's just a silent support, being there with them as they're experiencing and sharing. Or it might be doing something together, but sometimes it's like, let's couch rot together. Let's watch a movie. Let's, get some pizza. Let's just like be together so that you're not alone as you're thinking about your person. And then sometimes helping with practical stuff, right? There might be days that your friends miss school. So can you help out with homework and catching them up? Can you go grab a treat? Do we need some caffeine? Do we need some treats? Do we just need like some support to get through that day? Like Jamal said, maybe we need some Taco Bell. Do we need rides to stuff? Right? Do we need help with just like logistically getting to practice, getting to school, getting to that party? Is there any way that you can help out in that way to make things a little bit easier so that friends can show up in the activities that they want to do? And then also encouraging your friends to get support when they need it. Part of that means like asking around, maybe going to your school and asking what kinds of supports they have. Do they have counseling? Do they have support groups? Do they have other things? Or maybe in your area, but encouraging friends to go get support and meet with other teams that are also grieving, or meet with a mental health provider or professional if they need some additional support as well. And there's no right or wrong way to grieve. There's healthy and unhealthy. So there's not necessarily right or wrong ways to support somebody. There's helpful and sometimes not as helpful, but we just want to give you a couple of things to kind of consider if you have somebody in your life who's grieving that you really want to figure out how to support. Jamal, do you think there's anything else we want to add to the list for tonight?
I think that's great. I think we've covered a lot of zones.
Go team. We also have a website, y'all, that we'll share with you at the end. It's called griefsucks.com. And there is some content on there, and we've got some videos on things not to say and things to say that are supportive that our teens put together. So if you're wondering what not to say, you might want to check that out. You might want to share that with somebody in your life that maybe has said something to you that wasn't so supportive. But then there are some tips on ways to support in there as well that you are welcome to take a look at. All right. Y'all, before I continue, we had one of our other amazing Youth Advisory Board members join us tonight. Zoe, I'm not sure if we can have Ria join in. Raya, if you want to say hello, you are welcome to.
Hi.
There we are. Do you want to introduce yourself, friend?
Yeah, I'm Ria.
Hey,
Yeah,
Ria.
when I was 2, I lost my dad to cancer.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you for being here. Ria is also on our Youth Advisory Board. So something else we wanted to share, friends, without knowing where all of you are coming from and what your grief experiences are, is just around ways to support yourself, your grief, and ways to honor your person who died, if that's what you're experiencing. So, Jamal, Raya, I'm going to hand it off to y'all. We'll talk about this list, but what are some things that you would suggest are ways that are supportive in grief?
I think that there are a lot of ways to support grief. Like this list has a lot of good options, but I believe that, all of these can be used as jumping off points to expand. And support is just a really broad way. It's just a really broad word. So anything could really be support, where helping somebody, just helping in any way, like giving a ride, like we've been said before, and honoring grief also very important, like such as these things. I talked about my own Taco Bell excursions to honor my father, but there's so many other ways that it can be expanded from this to honor your person in terms of grief. Where my dad was a big swimmer, so I also am a big swimmer. So every time I jump in the water, I think that I'm honoring him through that way, because I'm captain of my swim team, my water polo team, and I feel like every time I lead or play the game, it's just a way that I'm honoring my own lineage of my dad. And just overall, all those in conclusion just are my own personal ways of trying to honor my father. And I think that this list is also a really nice way to support or honor grief.
Thank you, Jamal. It sounds like from what you've shared that there are things that you do that were Dad's favorite that you continue to do, but it sounds like you also are embodying some things that he really liked into the things that you like and that you continue to do. And what you just described, Jamal, is something that we call continuing bonds. So when we're grieving something that we've lost, again, whether it be the death of someone or maybe it was an experience that we had, maybe it was a different type of relationship, we try to stay connected to that. When it comes to death, that continuing bond is our effort to stay connected to our person who died. And so sometimes what we do is we like to do the things that they did, or we like to embody or like take on a characteristic or a hobby or an interest that they had too, as a way to honor them as well. Which sounds like, Jamal, would you say is what you do with you being, you said head of your swim team, right?
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Ria, did you want to share anything, my friend?
Yeah. I think this list, like Jamal said, has a lot of great options, and I think it's very helpful. Some things that we do is every year on his birthday, we plant a tree outside in our backyard. And I think that's one way we honor him. And then I think like just sharing his memories, like with like my friends and everyone who asks about it, or if they don't know, then that's what I tell them. I share like everything that I know and everything my family shares about him. They say he was a great person, and I like sharing that with people. So like they feel like a lot of people, I think when I tell them about how, like when people share stories with me about how he was like such a great person, I like to share that with other people so they know like about my family history and like, you know, where I come from. And I think that's a great way to honor him.
Yeah. Thank you, Raya. Yeah. So being able to honor, in your case, and your dad, being able to share the things that people have said, because sometimes we can only know so much about a person, but a lot of what we learn about people and a lot of what we know about people is through storytelling. So being able to hear other people share stories about our person, which is why in our previous slides, when we talked about how you can support somebody else, is in inviting them to share their story of their person, is in you sharing your story as a way to try to relate. But thinking about, things that we can learn about our person that we didn't know before, and ways that we can honor them and who they were, the characteristics that they had, the ways that they are described, and how people remember them is a different way to honor them as well. And being, it sounds like, wanting to share as well. So we're going to go through this list really quick, y'all. This little image here on the right is from a website, an organization called What's Your Grief? And they talk about how it's normal. So in this picture, there's a picture of a dad, and there is what seems to be their child being like, "Good night, Dad. I love you." And although their dad has died, it is totally normal to go and say goodnight to a photo, right? It's okay to want to look at pictures and listen to videos or audio messages or sound bites, and even have conversations with our people who have died. That's all our effort to stay connected to them. Other ways that we can honor our grief, and these are also helpful things if you're honoring or helping someone else honor their grief, is knowing first and foremost that it's okay to share. Jumel and Raya, I'm wondering for y'all, knowing that you come to camp, and for everyone who's listening, all of our programs are what we call a peer support model, meaning that everything that we do is in a group setting. So our whole mission is to bring kids and teens together so that they can share their stories together. We're there so that hopefully they can hear parts of their stories echoed in one another's. And so I wonder for either of you, just to like normalize it for anybody that's listening, did it feel in the beginning okay to share, or was it something that kind of felt more comfortable with time? What was your experience? Whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
I think that at first it was like I was very nervous and I wasn't as comfortable, but we call them sharing circles. As we did more of them, I felt more comfortable in hearing other people's stories about their dads and everything. I think I related so much, and that just made me feel like I had a place at camp and a community that had the same experiences as me. And that, I think, made me a lot more comfortable talking about my grief and sharing with others.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
I think I also had a similar experience where when I first came to camp, sharing circles were like a new experience. I had been able to talk about my own experiences with other people because I knew that no one would be able to relate to me. But coming to camp and meeting people that had similar experiences, backgrounds, and that were able to relate to the things that I was saying, and it wasn't just words to them. It may have taken me a couple meetings, a couple sharing circles, but eventually I was able to open up and share with the group and really experience what I was meant to experience through the lens of camp.
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing about your experiences. It sounds like you were gracious with yourself that in the beginning it just wasn't time to share, and that with time and comfort and trust that it got more comfortable and you were able to share more. And I think that's an important thing to know for anybody that's trying to support somebody through grief, or for yourself. If you're grieving and you're trying to figure out how to reach out for support or how to get comfortable sharing about your grief story, it takes time. There's no timeline to it. Grief is actually lifelong. We'll always be missing our people who have died. And so it takes time to get comfortable and to have grace with yourself to feel comfortable. But I think those reminders are that it's okay to share. We want to be able to live in a world where we can share our grief and it can be witnessed. And so knowing that it's okay, finding those people that you can trust to share that with, whether it be friends, whether it be a school counselor or a coach or some other supportive adult, whether it be an online community or a grief support community of people in your community, you know, kids and teens that you don't know from school. Sometimes the people that you know to share about can be a little bit harder. So sometimes getting to know people that don't know you can make it a little bit easier. But also, again, for yourself, if you're grieving, saying your person's name and who they are to you, who their title is, sharing memories about them. I wonder, Ria, if you wanted to share anything. Jamal had shared earlier some things that he does to honor his grief. I wonder if there's anything else that stands out to you that are ways that you honor your grief or your person.
Yeah, I kind of caught the end of what he was saying about how his dad used to like Taco Bell and how he ate that. We actually had Taco Bell today for dinner, and my sister always gets the same thing that he got. And it was his favorite and he loved it, and she gets it every single time. And I think that's one of the ways that maybe I don't get it, but my sister, that's one of the ways my sister honors him. Mm-hmm. And then we also visit the mausoleum, which visiting the cemetery is on here on this list. We visit on the day he died and his birthday. We go to the beach where we spread his ashes. And I think that's we find a lot of ways to honor him, and a lot of them are on this list.
Yeah. So y'all, I don't know about y'all who's listening, but now that there's both of you that have shared about Taco Bell orders, I think we got to hear them. What's in these orders? What are y'all getting?
Mexican pizza, Crunchwrap Supreme, 7-layer burrito.
Mm.
Yeah, my dad used to get a Crunchwrap Supreme too.
All right, y'all. Those are some delicious choices. I don't know about anybody else, but now I'm going to crave Taco Bell tonight. But also, like y'all said, doing some of their favorite things. So whether that be eating their favorite foods, watching favorite movies, doing activities, listening to music, reading books, or visiting places that they really enjoyed as a way to honor and remember and stay connected to them. Creating rituals too. Like Raya said, going to the cemetery, lighting candles, writing letters, maybe releasing balloons. And these can be on special days, holidays, or just days that they're missed. And then we talked about this earlier, but remembering them again on holidays. So birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, winter holidays, graduation, different milestones as well that we wish that they could be a part of, can also be a way that we can honor our people. And also getting support and being able to connect with other teens that are also grieving as a way to be able to share what that experience is like and get support from one another. That is probably one of the most courageous things that anybody could do, is to go into a space that they don't know, full of strangers, and share this incredibly intimate and personal part of themselves. So that is super, super courageous. All right, y'all. We've got another question for you. There should be, now it can pop into your responses into the chat. Now that we've shared a little bit about what grief is and different ways to honor our grief or to help our friends who are grieving, I'm wondering if you think about grief and the different losses and changes and transitions that you've experienced yourself, if grief were an item, a creature, or a place. So if you could make it into a thing, maybe it's like, well, I don't know. I don't want to give you any ideas. But a creature, or if it's a place that you would go, what would it be? Drop it into the chat. If you could rename grief or recreate it into something, what would you recreate it into? So friends, drop your responses into the chat while y'all are brainstorming. Jamal and Raya, if y'all have an answer, what you would do.
I think that I've said before, I would compare it to the ocean, where it's like tranquility can be there, but there's also like an occasional tempest, occasional hurricane, but it just matters how things are going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So compare it to the ocean, and that things are ever changing. The tides are ever changing, the waves, right? The currents. And what do? We learn how to adjust to it in some ways, right? We kind of surrender to it. Thanks, Jamal.
I think for me, at first, the place would be like a cave, somewhere scary, somewhere you don't really want to go in without knowing what's there. But then as time goes on, I think it gets more calm, and there's still, like he said, those like rocky waves, but it's definitely more peaceful. And I think at like towards the end, I would compare it to somewhere like the Maldives, which has beaches and oceans, and it's more calm than a cave, which is scary. So I think as time goes on, the place or the creature, the item, that it would change a lot.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So talking about how in the beginning, when your person first died, it would feel like a cave. Caves are cold and dark, and you can't always see what's around you, right? They're hard to get into. But it can change and transform with time. It can get more calm. If you're comparing it to the Maldives, it sounds like it could be somewhere that's like actually desirable, whereas sometimes grief is not so desirable. And so what are those places? And also being open with ourselves and the people that we're supporting, that changes over time. That at some points it can look or feel really different, and at some points it can change and transform. I'm going to share from the chat. We've got one in there, but a sunset pairs with the ocean and the beaches example. Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, Aubrey, for you, who graciously put into the chat, I wonder what is it about a sunset that describes grief? If you feel comfortable elaborating, feel free. I think if I were to name grief as an item, creature, or place, sometimes I think about naming my emotions and externalizing them. So I think about grief in that way, that I would name, like on a hard grief day where I'm really missing my person, I would make it into like little Muppet, like gremlin-y thing, you know, like I'm thinking about a Muppet with fur, but like it's really disheveled fur, like it's matted and weird and like going in every different direction. It's probably red and got some like curmudgeon facial expression on it because, you know, I was just chilling and then you had to come hang out, and it's probably like sitting at my desk, watching me make coffee for me, or coming on, you know, like on my shoulder during a walk, just gently reminding me that it's there and I'm missing my person. And on other days, it's also calm and lovely. So it can always change. We got a little expansion on the sunset, that it's beautiful and sad that it's ending, but it comes back and is a reminder of all the amazing memories. Yeah, that's such a beautiful point, and appreciate you bringing that into the chat of just sunsets are something that are so beautiful. People gather to watch, and our memories of our person and our experiences are so beautiful to watch, but then I'm going to be sad because it goes from this burst of color and this beauty that we're in awe of, and then it sets, but we also know that it's going to come back the next day. And so while we may not have we of course won't have our person the next day, we still have opportunities to share memories and to connect with other people that know them and to do things to honor them and honor our grief as well. Thanks, y'all. We appreciate you so much. There's 1,001 things that we could share about grief tonight, but we wanted to kind of just like bring the conversation here. Talk a little bit about what grief means, which, just so that you all know, there's no stages to grief. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's however we grieve. So it's not going from one place to the next. It's kind of being with it. And as you heard tonight, allowing it to change and transform and take different shapes as it needs to, and then finding ways to be with it and share with it and invite other people to be in that shared experience. So we also wanted to close out, before we close out tonight and make some time for Q&As, we wanted to share with you a couple of resources. So y'all know we are from an organization called Experience Camps. So if you are curious to find out more for yourself or for somebody in your life that you want to support, you can check out our website, experiencecamps.org. We have our applications open right now for our no-cost, free week-long summer camps all over the country. We've got them in Maine, Michigan, Maryland, Connecticut, Texas, California, Georgia. Did I miss anything? Pennsylvania. And they are available for kids that are going into 4th grade, so currently 3rd graders, all the way up to 12th grade, so currently 11th graders. You get to hang out with us for a week. My friends, Jamal, Raya, what's your favorite thing at camp?
College League.
You got to elaborate on that for us.
What's elaborate? Yeah, College League is basically sporting events across camp where you split into teams and you compete. And it's just a little competitiveness, a little edge that add the camp, and it makes it just that much more interesting and fun. And it's just really important. It's a pivotal part of camp, in my opinion.
College League. All right.
I agree. I would say College League too. I think like it like encourages teamwork, but it's also competitive, which I like.
All right, College Week for the win, y'all. For those of you that are learning about College League tonight, they are team working, kind of like good sportsman activities, everything from build an inflatable device for your camp counselor to use in the pool, to rubber duck scavenger hunts, to everything in between. Minute to win it, try to get an Oreo off your forehead into your mouth, that sort of thing. And you get points, which really just lead to like bragging rights, right? There's no like trophy at the end. We don't get any medals, but we got bragging rights, which is pretty fun. So if you know anybody that would want to come hang out with us at camp, we also have a family camp where our kids and teens can go with their caregivers, so they're adults, to a weekend and hang out doing camp related things. We've got events in the community and we got lots of resources on our website. And then we also got our website, griefsucks.com, which is actually run, and our youth advisory board, which we've got 2 members here tonight, Jamal and Raya, are the ones who create this website for us. So it's got a lot of content about how to navigate grief at school, how to navigate it on holidays. There's a couple celebrity videos in there of celebrities that are grieving someone, and what they have done to support themselves in their grief. There are movie reviews and about how grief shows up in the media. So TVs and movies, there are playlists, and there are some raw, honest content about what it's like to grieve, what it's like to get helpful support, and what it's like to get maybe not so helpful support. We're also on Instagram. We post a lot of videos, and a lot of our videos are about campers being so generous to share their story with us in hopes that they can connect with somebody else who's also grieving, and to know exactly how we approach grief at our programs, which is to create space for it. We don't censor campers at camp or in our programs for the most part. We want it to be really honest and really open and really, again, I keep saying raw, real. So on our Instagram and TikTok, you'll see on Experience Camps and griefsucks.com are our two handles on IG and TikTok. There is a lot of like real honest information about grief on there too. So feel free to take a look for yourself or share it with somebody that you know that could be supported. Like I shared at the top of our call, today is actually National Children's Grief Awareness Day. So it's an opportunity for us to remember kids and teens that are grieving somebody that they love. That could be you in our room together. In honor of that day, we usually wear blue, and blue is like the thing. So I tried to wear blue tonight, y'all. But for tonight, I encourage y'all and invite you to reach out to somebody that you know who's grieving and share with them that today is Children's Grief Awareness Day and you're thinking about them, and maybe they want to share a memory with you, or maybe y'all want to set a date to go get some Taco Bell, you know, whatever would be supportive to them. And then just to wrap us up before I hand it off to our friends for Q&A, y'all, we are so grateful to be in this space with all of you. Mind Out Loud is an incredible movement and initiative, and I applaud all of y'all that are in this space, learning about grief, learning about ways to support yourself and to support your friends, learning about what these mental health initiatives are, so that we could create a world where we can talk about mental health and grief and all the different things that we are all experiencing. And so I truly, if I could clap and not hurt your ears, I definitely would put it behind a speaker, a megaphone, amp it up. Like, it is extraordinary that y'all are open to these conversations, and more than that, creating awareness and elevating these conversations. So if I can support y'all in anything that you're doing, drop me a line anytime, Samira@experiencecamps.org. It's pretty easy. If I can share any resources with you or get somebody like you or somebody who needs some support connected to one of our programs, happy to help. But we just want, again, are so thankful that y'all invited us to come into the space and talk about grief. Before we hand it off for Q&A, Raya, Jamul, anything that y'all wanted to share before we see if we got any questions?
I just want to thank you all guys for having us here. It's an amazing experience to be able to share with my feelings and thoughts with people.
Thanks, Jamul.
Yeah, I think this is a great experience, like getting to share my story with others and help others grieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Raya. Thank you both for being so generous. Y'all taking time out of your night and being here so that hopefully your story can also support somebody who is in the space. All right, my amazing Mind Out Loud friends, I'm going to hand it over to you to see if we have any questions that we can answer.
All right. Thank you, Experience Camps, for the amazing presentation. Now we'll go ahead and ask our speakers the questions from the Q&A form. If any more questions come up while we're going through them, feel free to submit to the form still. So the first question is, I love how you brought up supporting people in our lives who are grieving through practical things such as offering to help with rides to places. What are some ways to support that aren't talked about as much, but are still very appreciated and meaningful?
Oh, that's such a great question. Jamal, Raya, do y'all have any ideas of like practical ways that people can support you in your grief that maybe isn't talked about? Maybe something that somebody in your life did for you or something you wish they did for you.
Yeah, for examples of practical support that I've felt is sometimes on tough days, people around me, especially with schoolwork, because my academics are important to me. Some of my friends realize that I'm having a hard time and they're able to help me make sure that, like, sometimes I won't be in class because I won't feel that I'm able to participate. So they're able to support me by getting me the homework, getting me the classwork, teaching me things occasionally. And that's just like means a lot to me from them, and it helps me a lot. And it's just, I don't know, something that I thought would be an example.
Yeah, JMO, that's such a helpful example because it sounds like I'm hearing two layers. One layer is that your friends know you well enough to know what's a priority to you, which is your academics. And then they also know you well enough to know when it ain't going as well, right? When there are some things that come up so that they can step in to see how they can support you. Thank you for that. Ryan, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, I actually have something to add on. I think that something my friends will do if they notice that I'm a little off is they'll invite me to go get Starbucks or have dinner together or invite me to their house and we just hang out and talk for a really long time, or we'll have a sleepover. And I think that's one way that my friends have helped me.
Yeah, those are important. So just that invitation of like, let's go do something. Let's go get some Starbucks that you love. Maybe not in the bear mug, y'all, because that's controversial. I don't know how many people got them, but maybe we're going some pizza. Maybe we're gonna go binge watch something. Whatever it is that helps you, let's just go be together. Reminding you that they're there for you. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, and I would just add to that list of like anything that makes day to day, especially if it's right after somebody has died, really easy. So dropping off meals, homework is always helpful, but also just like stuff to help distract too. So whether it be dropping off maybe like an activity they like to do or something they haven't tried before, maybe a board game because it's hard to like distract. Maybe you're getting them like a better charger because they're going to be doom scrolling for hours, right? Like something that just like makes things a little bit smoother, a little bit easier.
Okay, so the next question is, what does grief look like for you right now and how has it changed over time?
Great questions. All right, my two friends. Would either of you like to answer?
I think for me, as we said, for the creature, item, or place, I think it started off very rocky and nerve-wracking, and I just really didn't understand it. I was very young, but when I was old enough to understand, I still didn't fully understand it, and it took me a while to process. But I think I've gotten to the point over time where I'm comfortable sharing, and I can do things like this where I can help other people also get through their grief like I did, and while still honoring their person, because you don't want to forget them, but you can push past the grief to find ways to honor your person.
I would agree that in the beginning it wasn't smooth. It was a rough transition, huge change, obviously. But I think that time is really the best medicine, and as time's over, due to the amount of support that I was able to get, the time was really helpful as well. Where just the support from my friends, family, camp especially, grief has been able to the way that I process grief has really changed in the way that it's not, as I compared to oceans before, it's not hurricanes or tsunamis anymore. It's just ripples now.
Thank you for that analogy. Thank you for that visualization, Jewel. So we can move on to the next question.
Okay, so Samira, this one's actually for you. What inspires you to work with individuals or communities experiencing grief?
Oh, thank you for that question. It is the most extraordinary, incredible, magical work ever, y'all. I'm very privileged to hang out with teens like Jewel and Raya who are so willing to share their story. And it's just magic. It's just inspiring to be able to think about being a part of creating safety for other people to share their experience, because the truth is that we all experience so many different things, and sometimes the spaces that we're in don't feel safe to share about those things. And so I will give all of my energy and time to creating spaces where kids and teens are invited to share about their experience in hopes that that supports them. But it is definitely working with them that inspires me. And let me not fool y'all. I've also been diagnosed with a trend disorder I've been doing this work for 15 years. I'm so trendy that I'm disordered. Just kidding. It's quite the opposite. I love working with kids and teens when they are really honest with you. So I'm also in it for all of that feedback. makes my day when I get to hear that, when I get music recommendations, when they tell me that how I talk is not trendy. You know, I'm into all of what it means. But truly, it is who I get to work with that is the gift and the privilege. So I appreciate that question.
Love that. Okay, so the next question is, what is one common misconception about grief you wish more people understood?
What is one misconception about grief we wish more people understood? I'm going to start that one off, and then Jamal and Raya, curious your thoughts. I think for me, it's that kids and teens grieve the same way as adults. Not only is grief so individual, but kids and teens grieve really differently than adults. So oftentimes we, in the role that I have, where we're creating support programs, sometimes there's programs out there that are looking to support grief in the same ways that we support adults with their grief, and that's just not the thing. And so a misconception is that everyone grieves the same way, but in fact, they do not. They grieve as individually as snowflakes and fingerprints. No two snowflakes are ever the same. Nobody's fingerprints are ever the same. They're very, very individual.
But yeah, I think the misconception is that grief really has an end. Obviously, the process of grief your emotions the burden of grief can lessen, but it's never really gone, as it's just, tumultuous path to be put on that it's never ending, but it always has ways to get better.
Like, I think a lot of people think that you just get over it, which I really don't like when people say, because they might not have experienced it the same way as we have. And I think that people think of it like stages or steps, where once you get through the steps, you're done, which, speaking from experience, I know is definitely not true. I mean, after 12 years now, it still hurts, and it's like not gone, and it will never be gone. But it's not a bad thing. I think that honoring your person, as we've talked about, is something that people should understand more, that you can honor your person while grieving, and it doesn't end. And I think I wish more people understood that.
Such a helpful reminder for the both of you. So generously sharing there's no timeline, which is also a helpful reminder for those of us on the call that are supporting people that are grieving. Like, there is no getting over it. There is no, hasn't it been this long, and our ideas of what it should look like and feel like if we're not the ones experiencing it. So just asking questions like, how are you doing? And not having that judgment of time.
Our next question is, are there many representations of grief in media that you have really resonated with? What does representation of grief mean to you?
Ooh, Jamal, Raya, are there any examples that y'all have experienced that you feel like was a good representation?
I think on the Grief Sucks website, there's a lot, such as like songs or movies. Yeah, like I think you can express grief through lyrics or a book. There's many representations of grief, and I think my favorite personally is songs, because I listen to a lot of music, and there are so many songs out there that relate to grief, and we listen to them at camp too. I think a lot of the camps, when they listen to music, they're very good songs. There's songs by hundreds of artists that talk about grief, because a lot of people have experienced it. If a lot of people didn't know that, it's a lot of people. And I think that songs and books all help people understand grief better and help people get through grief better.
Mm-hmm. Those are such helpful reminders.
I agree. I think music is a great way that grief is represented. But I also think that film and TV shows and movies are also great representations of grief in the media. Like, specifically for me, I've seen a lot of different TV shows and movies that have had different representations of grief, like Never Have I Ever, The Bear are all like real real good examples of grief within media, as well as there's one that I saw on Apple TV called The Shrinking, and it has it's really like huge themes of grief and just coming through that with family and support. And I think it's just a great representation of media. And I think that media representation of grief is also really important, as just it coming into the more broad zenith is just really important that people know about it.
Thank you both for sharing that. And hopefully those representations in the media and in music, they're conversation starters. So using that as a way for anybody who's on the call or tuning in, of like, that's a way to also start a conversation with somebody about their grief, or to open a conversation about your own grief, is to use some of those resources too.
So this person said, I know we talked about how to honor our person on days such as Father's Day, but how can we honor and take care of ourselves on the days that are harder to ourselves, such as celebrating a birthday or holiday without them?
Thank you for that question. Yeah. Jamal, Raya, is there anything that has supported you on those days that you'd be willing to share?
I think I can answer that. I think for birthdays, I think I shared this before, but planting a tree. He liked planting a tree I plant a tree in my backyard every year. We have now 12 or 13 trees in my backyard now for him. And I think it's nice to watch them grow, because the one from 13 years ago is now taller than my whole family. And I think like standing there and taking a picture with it every year, I think that's very special to me, and it's a special day. We also go to his favorite restaurant. It's an Italian restaurant, and it's very close to us, and I get fried ravioli, which was also his favorite. And then on holidays like Christmas, I get gifts from a lot of my family members on his side of the family, like that are dressed from him too. And I think that's very special too. So you can honor him by, you could write him I write him a card or write him a letter, and I put it by the picture of him in my house. So I think those are great ways to honor or remember your person on a holiday or birthday.
Thank you for all of those, Raya.
Yeah, I think those are great. I agree that birthdays are really important. I tend to spend a lot of time with my family on his birthday, where we still write cards for birthday cards, as well as like Christmas cards, and we put up a stocking as well. It's just that he's still part of a family. Like, he's physically gone, but it's still not like someone that's just gone from our lives overall.
Absolutely. Thank you for those reminders. The only thing that I'll add, friends, is also recognizing how grief affects our own milestones and special days. So there are also ways to honor a person on their birthdays, but also on our own, and creating traditions and ways to honor them on the days that we wish that they could be a part of, whether it be holidays or birthdays. But a lot of what we do when we think about holidays is rituals and traditions. And so when we're thinking about grief and how to honor our person on those special days, what are those new rituals and traditions that we want to do? So maybe we want to set an open chair at the dinner table for them. Maybe we want to look at pictures or videos or share memories, or again, go to their favorite places, eat their favorite foods, just ways that we can honor and remember them, but also honor ourselves. Thank you for those questions, everyone. And thank you, Sia, for prompting them.
Since there are no more questions, we would like to thank all of you and our guest speakers for joining us tonight. Please fill out the feedback form in the chat to let us know how we did and help us improve on future sessions. Visit our website to join our future monthly workshops. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jamal and Raya.